Hey everybody, this is a clip from an exclusive conversation I had with my community members. I'll be having weekly conversations moving forward with my exclusive community about topics that I don't usually talk about on this channel. If that's of interest to you, go to farza.fm to sign up. I'll also have ad-free content, exclusive newsletters, a digest, exclusive models and research, and so much more. Enjoy. When I used to work at Tesla, when I was in the supply chain part of the business, one of the roles, my NDA has been done for the last couple of years. So it's like, this is one thing I haven't done in a long time, is like deep dive my specific things that I did at Tesla. One of 1,000 jobs that I had was helping the company really streamline the processes inside the warehouses so that the product flowing from the trailer coming in to the outbound trailer going out, the way that part went from one place, basically a process or industrial engineer, basically, but like one that is not constrained to just engineering. I can create my own analytics tools. I can manage the material handler team. I can implement processes. Like usually these things are like they're isolated. You have a process or industrial engineer that comes up with the ideas and the recommendations, and it gets handed off to the operations manager, and the operations manager like green lights it or not. And then the operations managers has to go with the supervisors to like release this into the wild, and the supervisors manage the material handlers actually doing it. And then you could have this chain going back and forth. The way Tesla did it, at least from my experience, my direct experience, was like, I just was able to do the whole thing. Just figure, if you can do it, wow, you do it. Like, don't worry about hierarchy. Just fucking do it. If you have the skill to do it, do it. So, and this is where like having multi-skill is so important for companies like Tesla. It's like, because if you have multiple skill sets, so leadership, analytics, process improvement, and engineering brain, you can combine all those things, and then action becomes super fast, right? So, long story short, one of the things that we always had to work on was trying to figure out how to get product out of the facility as fast as we could. And we had these orders, these parts that would constantly change from day to day. So like one day, the shock absorber was a hot item. But then another day, it was maybe like the steering wheel was a hot item. But then you had consistently hot items that would always be needed, like nuts and bolts and logos and key cards and tires and wheels. Like certain pieces of trim were a problem. Like I know, like specific owners, like the earlier Model 3s, there was, I forget what it was, but it was a specific item for like months. We had to ship this fucking thing out, okay? So you have consistent items that are always going out, and then you have certain parts that are hot for a little bit, then cold for a little bit, then hot for a little bit. So what that does is when you are like a picker, like somebody that goes and gets the product from the racks, like to actually pick the product, you sometimes have to go to really far places to get the product and then bring it to the floor, because the way you have racked your inventory is you want the fastest moving stuff closest to the outbound floor, so you don't have to walk that far to get the parts, and that allows you to do more work in a day. And so in my head, I'm like, one of the things that was a pain in the ass was reslotting, which was you bring stuff forward and move stuff back. You bring stuff forward, you move stuff back. But when you have humanoid robots and nobody's in the facility, or it's this role maybe is not cost effective with a human, just set up a staging area, and just the bots are responsible for moving the hot stuff close on any given day, and then removing it if it becomes cold and replacing it with a hot item. So kind of having this like floating picking section. And I know companies like Amazon probably do this already with their own robots, or even with humans, because they're at such big scale. But when you have smaller warehouses, like it's tougher to do that because it requires additional headcount, and you're already so stretched thin that it's hard. But then what human robots allow, it essentially opens up, is like you're going to have small scale businesses that are going to have elite state-of-the-art processes, because you're going to open up the ability to do these floating hot zones for picking, right? That's just one example. And in my head, I'm like, bro, like human robots are going to be unbelievable. People are not realizing how big of a deal this is. It's just picking up, putting down. That's all the bot would do. Go to this place, bring this box, put it down there for the day, and then take it away. And that's going to dramatically improve the processes for that entire warehouse.
And also you can make decisions as a manager without having to use emotion at all, which like, let's be honest. If you've got an item which is hot one day, then not the next, then it is the next day, then isn't the one. Are you going to ask a human being to move that, like that pick location to another pick location, relabel it like each day? Like you're probably going to feel bad about doing that every day, especially if you have to do like 10 times or 100 times. I worked in a shop called Argos, which is in the UK, which is basically like you walk in and it's a nice showroom sort of thing, but it's like a desk at the front and you can get anything from Argos, right? And then you've got a warehouse out back. So an order comes in and you go to the warehouse out back and bring it to the front for like each delivery and stuff like that. I mean, we're just walking backwards and forwards to a warehouse positioned to the front all day, just taking tickets. And like you just said, like the big lumpy stuff was always at the back because that's where there was more room, but would be a pain in the ass to get. So like people were like trying to avoid getting that ticket, right? Which means that customer waits longer. Yeah, exactly. They could have just been like, hey, look, we've got lawnmowers on 50% off this weekend. Can you bring every single lawnmower to the front at night just in case we sell it and then move it back at the end of the next shift? Like the robots were like, yeah, sure.
Just the human or robot, just ship it.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Just eventually, like they go from moving this stuff to being able to process the stuff, right? And it's like exactly like it was so, you would feel bad for the person because you know that's a pain in the ass role. That's a pain in the ass thing you have to do. And then, eventually they're going to get burnt out and then they don't want to be there anymore. And then they're going to leave. And then you're going to have to hire a new person and you're going to have to retrain them. And then maybe that person does a poor job. Maybe that person just can't read. We've run into situations where we've had pickers, they literally can't read. Yeah. Somehow we hire them and we didn't test them for reading. So they're like looking at a pick label. They're like, I don't know what. It's like it's learning disability, not their native language, whatever. It's not an intelligence thing. It's like some people just don't know how to read, which is such a fundamental thing. But like you remove a lot of these variables out of the equation. And then when you have an emotionless being that will do everything, that will do the same thing forever, it opens up so many unbelievable possibilities, just that function. But it requires a type of leadership team or a leadership culture to really embrace that, because the message that's sending there is that, hey, unless you embrace this change and grow with it, right, it will displace you. And most people are going to be like, I don't want my job taken away. Yeah, they're not going to be like, okay, I need to embrace this and take it to the next level with the robot. They're going to be like, no, we have to stop this. Like the whole human nature of like conserve what you have now and don't take a risk was going to take over. And that is going to be a fascinatingly scary transition because that's going to happen everywhere.
To start with as well, it's going to take, as you said, a certain leadership team to deploy these humanoid robots into their fleet, because it's going to have to change so much. Like every item which is being picked is now going to need to be like understood by the robot, right? Or even if it's like a location, like it could be like you have like 10 things on a shelf in a box, which all have like a little piece of packaging on top of it, which needs to be removed every single time. Like that maybe isn't acceptable, or is acceptable, but every single little detail is going to have to be rethought to deploying the robots in the facility, which is going to create a bit of a barrier to entry. But then the people that do adopt it are then going to accelerate so hard, the others are cooked. Like,
exactly. Yeah. Just make it easy for the robot to do the job. It could be just as easy. Like I remember, like just as simple as pre-opening the boxes and cutting out the lids made such a huge difference for picking.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of times like people would go, they're like, oh, fuck. Like, and they're like, I forgot to bring my box cutter. Yeah. And then they're like struggling with this box. The tape is hard to take off. They're exhausted. And then the lid keeps closing and the next person comes in and the box is a mess. And it's like, I can't even find the part. It's empty, but it's not empty. There's like 2 pieces in there. So you just threw out inventory. And then when you do the inventory control piece, you're like, where are these 2 parts? And then you have to go through a QA process. Bro, it's brutal. But it's those little minutia, the details that make such a huge difference over it, because it impacts culture, right? It impacts culture. When the job is hard, people hate being there. Yep.
So we've actually never nerded out on logistics, because I did a similar role at Rolls-Royce Motor Cars to what you did at Tesla, and I worked in inventory control. And like sometimes we'd have an issue where a part is trying to get fitted to a car, but it's damaged, and each station on the production line, if they threw something in the bin, it goes against their cost center. So they would throw it in the bin without recording it, so that it didn't go against their cost center. But then you'd lead to an inventory shortage, which then could stop the line, right? And means you don't build, like we build like up to 30, they were building up to 30 Rolls Royces per day. So like stopping the line is like a big deal, right? For that company, right?
Huge.
But if you automate that stuff, like if anything that needs to go to the bin is done by the Optimus robot, which automatically sees it, records it, does the system update, which sometimes like just takes way too long because you got to go to this place, write it off. Then I don't know as to why you wrote it off. Maybe notify someone to tell them to order another one, or maybe that's automatic or whatever. But if that stuff becomes systemized, oh my God, like those little processes, once solved in like a manufacturing environment, are game changers.
Dude, like the math I'm trying to come up with, like intuitively, my gut's telling me is that for every 50 people in a, let's say, in a shift in a warehouse environment, for every 50 people, if you add 2 human or robots, so let's say 1 per 25 employee and any staff, right? Because those robots don't rest. So while there is break, they can work, and while they don't have anything to do, they can charge, in theory, right? But these robots, these 2 robots for every 50 can work the whole day, literally 24 hours a day. I feel like those 2 robots per 50 people per staff, so 1 per 25, can bring at least a 20% improvement in output. Easy. So like if you're shipping 1,000 parts, those 2 robots will get you 200 additional parts. Same exact people, just a 20% boost immediately. And that's a huge deal. That's like a massive improvement.
Think of all the odd jobs it could do. Like Optimus, empty the bin. Like you have like in like warehouses, you have bins all throughout the warehouse where packaging is going in all the time.
Trash.
Right?
Yeah.
And if that's overflowing, like boringly, it's a safety hazard, but more annoyingly, like it's literally getting in the way. Optimus, bin needs emptying, or it's already walking around checking. Like when you're not asking it to do anything, it's like I've got these 10 little things which I can walk around and check all the time.
And it has a priority list already that you've predefined for it. And then there will be data signals that get sent to the robot constantly from like just operational, things that are happening. And those become signals for the bot to be like, okay, maybe I need to go to this bin to make sure it's like this bin often has an issue. Let me go see if it needs to be dealt with. Is it meeting my standard? And then again, because that brain is like so fungible, so adaptable. Like me, I would hate to do that specific job every day of my life. But there's some people that are completely happy doing that. They're super grateful for it. And perhaps that's what they want to do. Like they just want a steady job. They know exactly what they have to do every day so they can go home and be with their family. Completely, totally appreciate that. But that bot will be able to do any job eventually. Like any job without complaint, like to your point,
Also, like for every warehouse which like eventually gets to sign off a 100K robot, right? I bet they fill up that robot's 24 hours in like the first week.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then they're like, we need another one.
Yeah. Infinite demand. This human robot's going to have infinite demand. But it has to be useful, right? The key thing here is that it has to be useful, and it can't be a pain in the ass to implement. It has to be, it almost has to be like the current version of FSD on the cars. It's like you turn it on and it's awesome. That's how the human or robot can't be like, when you roll out, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when you roll out a new system at a warehouse or a factory or whatever, like if it's not an improvement, people will hate it because people are like, okay, I put in all this training time, I put in all this effort, and it's the same. Why did you, or worse, why did you have me do all this, right? The bot has to come in, and from day one, it has to be like, okay, I can see why. And it has to do the pain in the ass jobs. Yeah. It has to remove the pain in the ass jobs from the staff, because then it becomes a friend. It becomes a friend. It's like, oh, this thing's removing bottlenecks for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good angle.
Dude, it's so like, in my head, I'm like, bro, like once these things become available, I might get back into the logistics game on the side.
Yeah.
Because I think I would be so uniquely positioned to be able to capitalize on this, because most logistics companies are fucking dog shit. They're so bad. Let me get to some comments here real quick.
Let's do it.